Mr. Geiger, a good 2 years ago, you had a near-death experience. Could you describe the event leading up to this experience? Yes, it began at home. I was lying in bed suffering from shortness of breath, but I could at least still tell the domestic servant, who came to me immediately and called the emergency number. The ambulance came straight away, but I could no longer speak, and I wasn't responsive any longer. The ambulance quickly transferred me to the cantonal hospital in St. Gallen, and I still can remember vaguely is that on arrival, well, there was a lot of activity around me, but the nurses and the doctors who came straight toward me, I remembered nothing further from that point on. When I came back to my senses, I did not fully experience this. I found myself in a room thinking, well, okay, I'm in a room now, and around me there were two persons who were allowed to visit me. Usually, visits are not allowed in the intensive care unit, except for relatives and siblings. And from this point on, I didn't notice anything more for a long period of time. I had just passed out, but I did have bad dreams during that time, very bad dreams. I know that I had completely passed out because I had been told about this afterwards, and then they had to cut open my throat tube, otherwise I would have suffocated. And they also examined my whole body in all its complexity. So my whole body, including the intestines, was opened, and I had tubes coming out all over my body, and I could no longer pass urine. They had to do all this for me, and then, as I said, I was lying there, and what I can still remember is that I was floating away. And this is a wonderful memory. This was so beautiful. And in this way, I reached a tunnel, a big tunnel. And the more I moved forward, and at the time, I must say, I was still walking with the help of walking sticks. So I moved forward, and the brighter it became, totally bright. Sun, I have rarely seen such a nice thing. A meadow, green. And the people were there who knew me from the past, many of them from Rapperswil. I had been working there before I came to Uzwil. Did you know these people? Yes, I knew all of them. Were these people already deceased? Yes, they had already passed over, and this now was indeed an encounter with very nice people. There was also a meadow with the sun shining so bright, and a path inside which I followed. Again and again they shouted to me, and again I saw some new faces, and I remember all this so fondly still today. For years I hadn't thought of these people, and now they became alive again. How did you experience these people? Did you see them? Well, in the same way that they lived. In the way that they lived, yes. I would like to make special mention of the owner and his wife of the cafe where I usually had lunch, and also of their daughters and children. I hadn't known that they had been killed in an accident. I knew all of them. How were these people dressed? Well, they were dressed quite normally. After having seen the friends I knew, I continued to walk forward. Then someone approached me, all dressed in white, and they asked me, "Rudi, would you like to come with me, or would you like to go back once again?" I replied that I would like to go back, because there was still so much for me to do. This was the most important moment. This individual was very bright, white hair, and long. Could you describe this individual in more detail? Well, in simple language, one could say that it was like an angel. And it had white hair? Yes, white hair. And what kind of clothing did it wear? Well, it was wearing clothes similar to those worn by the priests. You understand, everything in white. Everything in white? Yes. Yes. This was quite a strange feeling. How did you experience your surroundings there, this meadow? Well, it was wonderful. Much more beautiful than over here, full of flowers, marvelously green, very intense colors. And did you see any other things along the way? Did you see any houses? No, I didn't see any houses. No. And the people you saw there, they knew me and welcomed me. And in a friendly manner, they said to me, "Are you joining us now?" This was the most important thing. They said, "Are you joining us?" And then, at that moment, this strengthened me. In the high heavens over there, you think that at such a moment you have all you need, and that you already know everybody, and that everybody already knows you. Anyhow, I did not want to stay, because I just was not mature enough for this. Do you still remember anything else besides seeing the individual dressed in white and seeing the deceased people you had known? Well, what I still remember is the blue heavens and the big sun, the vast meadows, all of them really lush green. This was the area I experienced, really wonderful. How did you experience the return, or how did you get out of this situation? Well, this individual asked me if I would like to stay there, and I answered, and this is precisely what happened, that I would like to go back because there was still something for me to do. And then I was back again. Did this happen all of a sudden? Yes, this happened suddenly. Did you then wake up in the hospital bed? Yes, after about 3 weeks. What consequences did this experience have for your future life? My view of life has completely changed. Before, professional life had really been tough. I did not live so purposefully, and now I live each individual day fully aware. For example, when I wake up in the morning, I give thanks for waking up anew. Then the home care service comes to help me out of bed, and in the evening I give thanks once again that the day is over. I have never done this before. Well, I must say that I live more consciously now. Does this experience mean for you a step forward toward faith? No, not toward faith, because I'm a faithful Christian. Anyhow, at least I call myself that. I was a Protestant, but I had differences with the pastor at that time, with the pastor of the civil registration. Therefore, I had handed in my resignation from the Protestant Church. This is the reason why I affirm myself as a devout Christian. Now let's get back to your near-death experience. When you found yourself in the tunnel, you are in fact confined to a wheelchair. You suffered from poliomyelitis, right? Yes, both polio and infantile paralysis. Since when were you unable to walk? I have to correct myself. I was also suffering from diphtheria, and when I was 2 years old, I was taken to the hospital in St. Gallen because I was suffering from diphtheria. My twin sister and my brother also, but they were able to be discharged and returned home. But I had to stay in the cantonal hospital for almost a year. When I was taken to hospital, I was still able to walk, but after I was unable to do so. How old were you when you began to be unable to walk? From the age of 2 years on, and this was about in 1946. Were you able to walk when you were having the near-death experience and when moving through the tunnel? Yes, in that moment I was able to walk. Well, you were walking with the walking sticks during your near-death experience. I was walking toward the light. You also had then something like walking sticks or, yes, normal walking sticks. Walking sticks. You see, over there you can see one. Well, walking sticks with, no, these are crutches. Walking sticks are the ones with the normal grips. It was a stick comparable to a walking cane. A walking cane, then you were moving through the tunnel by means of a walking cane? With two, yes, with two. I always had to walk with both. I was constantly moving straight ahead toward the light. And you could do that, well, all went well? It wasn't troublesome for you? No, not at all. I felt very well. It was truly a beautiful experience. Therefore, people don't understand me when I tell them about this. When I try to tell them what I experienced, they usually ask me why I came back. And I explained to them that I felt the need to do so, because I hadn't finished the course of life. For me, life as a whole is not finished yet. Tell me, how is your state of health at the moment? Well, at present, of course, I always have had health problems. And therefore I have again and again been in the hospital in St. Gallen. I have above all speech and respiratory problems. At night I need a respirator, and I cannot be without it. In view of all this, is it in any case a gift that you have lived for a further 2 years now? That I have managed 2 more years? Yes. And you did not regret having come back? No, I didn't. Because now when I'm here, it's all right. On the other hand, it's a new life now. I have become someone else. That is what all my colleagues are saying, and also the neighbors living in the house where I live. They just look at me. If they would like to do something for me, I let them do it. Apart from that, I don't say anything to them. What was your job previously? I was the registrar in Niederuzwil, in addition to several other posts that I have held. I also gave lessons at the Commercial Association in Liechtenstein. I did that also. Then your life has been filled with some rather heavy responsibilities. This is absolutely true, and this is the reason why I have remained single. I have always had many responsibilities, and the general public has always been the most important thing for me. Rudi, may I thank you very much now for this interview, and I was really happy to meet you.